You thought you knew what motherhood would look like. You had a picture in your mind. Maybe it came from watching your own mother. Maybe it came from movies. Maybe it came from other women talking about their experiences. But the picture you had and the reality you are living are two completely different things, and nobody warned you about the gap between them. Nobody told you that the version of motherhood you experience at 20 is not the same version you experience at 30, and neither of those is anything like what happens at 40. Nobody told you that each phase would demand something different from you, that each phase would take something from you, that each phase would ask you to be a different woman entirely. And the cruelest part is that you have been judging yourself against all three versions simultaneously, believing that somehow you should be able to be the 20-year-old mother and the 30-year-old mother and the 40-year-old mother all at the same time, and when you cannot, you have blamed yourself. But what if the problem is not you? What if the problem is that we have never told you the truth about how motherhood actually changes across the decades of your life? When you became a mother at 20, you believed one specific thing would happen. You believed that motherhood would be difficult. Yes. You believed it would be exhausting. Yes. But you believed that, because you were young, your body would recover quickly. You believed that, because you were young, you would have energy. You believed that, because you were young, you would somehow be more naturally suited to the physical demands of keeping a small human alive and developing. And in some ways, your 20-year-old body was better suited to these demands. Your recovery time was faster. Your energy reserves were deeper. Your ability to function on fragmented sleep was almost supernatural compared to what you can do now. But here is what you did not know. Here is what nobody tells you about motherhood at 20. When you become a mother at 20, you are surrendering your entire sense of self at a moment when you are still building that self. You are deciding who you are going to be as a woman while simultaneously deciding who you are going to be as a mother. And these two identities are in direct conflict. The woman you could have become and the mother you are becoming are competing for the same limited amount of space inside you. And one of them has to lose. At 20, your friends are figuring out who they are. They are experimenting. They are making mistakes and recovering from them. They are developing their sense of humor. They are discovering their values. They are becoming themselves. And you are doing these things while also being responsible for a human being who cannot survive without you. So your becoming stops. Or it slows down so dramatically that you look around at 25 and you barely recognize yourself. You have become a mother so completely that the woman inside you has almost disappeared. You deserve to know this before you made the choice, or before the choice was made for you. You deserve to know that motherhood at 20 is not just about being young and energetic. It is about sacrificing the most crucial years of self-discovery so that another human being can discover themselves instead. Now let's move to 30. You thought that motherhood at 30 would be completely different, and it is. By 30, you have had a decade of parenting under your belt. You understand the systems. You understand what matters and what does not. You have made peace with the fact that you will never have a perfectly clean house. You have learned to let go of expectations that cannot be met. In many ways, you are a much better mother at 30 than you were at 20 because you are more patient. You are more present. You worry less about doing everything perfectly and more about being emotionally available. But here is what changes at 30. At 30, your body begins to send you signals that were not happening at 20. Your recovery time slows down. A night of interrupted sleep does not just mean you are tired the next day. It means you are foggy. It means your immune system struggles. It means your body is beginning to keep score of what you have been putting it through. At 30, you are beginning to understand that you are not infinite. that your resources are finite, that there is a cost to always being available, and that cost is being paid by you, in your body, in your energy, in your health. Additionally, at 30, the stakes change. If your child got sick at 20, it was frightening. But at 30, you understand more deeply what sickness means. You understand mortality in a way you did not before. You understand that your child depends on you for more than just physical survival. Your child depends on you for emotional stability. Your child depends on you for protection from a world that is becoming more complex and more frightening as they grow older. And the weight of that responsibility becomes more visible at 30 than it was at 20. You deserve to know that motherhood would change your body in ways that are not reversible. You deserved to know that the physical toll would accumulate. You deserve to know that at 30, you would look at your 30-year-old self and barely recognize her compared to who you were at 20, and then you reach 40. If motherhood at 20 was about surrendering your becoming, and motherhood at 30 was about understanding the cost of your sacrifice, motherhood at 40 is about something else entirely. At 40, your children are becoming adults. They no longer need you in the physical ways they once did. They no longer need you to make sure they eat breakfast. They no longer need you to help them with homework. They no longer need you to hold them when they are afraid. But the absence of these needs does not feel like liberation. It feels like loss. It feels like you have spent 20 years being needed in a very specific way. And now that way is gone, and you do not know who you are without it. At 20, you lost yourself in motherhood. At 30, you began to feel the cost of that loss. At 40, you feel the weight of having surrendered to decades, to something that is now moving into a different phase. Your child does not need you less at 40. They need you differently. And that difference is a kind of grief that nobody warned you about. Additionally, at 40, your body is sending you completely different signals than it was sending at 30 or 20. Your hormones are shifting. Your metabolism is changing. Your body is beginning a transition that will define the next phase of your life. And you are experiencing this transition while also grieving the end of active motherhood, while also beginning to reckon with the fact that you have spent the most crucial years of your life in service to another human being, while also trying to figure out who you are when you are no longer needed in the ways you have become accustomed to being needed. Here is what unites all three phases of motherhood and what nobody tells you. In all three phases, you are expected to be the same kind of mother. You are expected to be endlessly patient. You are expected to be endlessly available. You are expected to put your own needs last. You are expected to sacrifice your body, your time, your energy, your dreams, without question or resentment. And if you struggle with any of these expectations, if your body fails you, if your patience wears thin, if your availability has limits, then you are told that you are doing motherhood wrong. But that is not true. What is true is that the expectations placed on mothers are inhuman. What is true is that the expectations are the same regardless of your age, regardless of your circumstances, regardless of what is happening in your body, regardless of what is happening in your life. What is true is that you have been asked to be a constant, unchanging source of love and support and sacrifice for 2 decades. And when you cannot maintain that consistency because your body changes and your energy changes and your emotional capacity changes, you have been made to believe that you are failing. The revelation that happens between minute 12 and minute 14 is this: the problem is not you. The problem is not that you are not a good mother. The problem is that the system of motherhood in which we live was never designed to be sustainable. It was never designed to account for the fact that you would age. It was never designed to account for the fact that your body would change. It was never designed to account for the fact that you would have limits. It was designed assuming that mothers are infinite. And when you prove yourself finite, the system does not adjust. You do. You have spent 20 years adjusting yourself to fit into a system that was never designed to fit you. And the result is that at 40, you look back at the 20-year-old woman you were, and you grieve her. You grieve the woman she could have become if she had not been so entirely consumed by motherhood. You grieve the dreams she had to put aside. You grieve the person she was before she became someone's mother. And you do this grieving while also loving your children deeply, while also being grateful for them, while also recognizing that motherhood has given you experiences and a kind of love that you would not trade for anything. But that grief is valid. That loss is real, and you deserve to acknowledge it. You deserve to say out loud that something was taken from you. Not because motherhood is bad, but because the way we structure motherhood asks women to give up parts of themselves that they will never get back, and nobody acknowledges that. Nobody says that this is happening. Nobody validates the depth of the sacrifice you are making. What you need to understand is this: you are not wrong for grieving what you lost. You are not wrong for feeling resentment sometimes. You are not wrong for wishing that you could have been a mother and also been fully yourself at the same time. The system is wrong for making that impossible. The system is wrong for expecting you to give everything and still have something left over for yourself. The system is wrong for changing the demands on you every decade without acknowledging that you are changing too. You deserve to be a mother who is also fully human. You deserve to have needs that matter. You deserve to have dreams that are not secondary to someone else's development. You deserve to have a body that belongs to you, not just to the service of others. You deserve to have time that is yours. You deserve to have a self that is not entirely subsumed by the role of mother. The question I want you to sit with is this: what would change if you gave yourself permission to grieve what you lost while also celebrating what you gained? What would change if you acknowledged the sacrifice without deciding that you were wrong to make it? What would change if you could see yourself as both a good mother and a woman who was incomplete because motherhood consumed her? What would change if you stopped trying to be all three versions of yourself, the 20-year-old mother and the 30-year-old mother and the 40-year-old mother, and instead gave yourself permission to be the exact version of yourself that you are right now? In our next video, we are going to talk about the women who looked at motherhood and decided that they were going to refuse to disappear. We are going to talk about the women who found ways to be mothers and also be themselves. Because that story of women who fought against the system to remain whole, is the story where your own wholeness begins. You are not wrong. The system is wrong. And you deserve to know that. Leave a comment and tell me. At what point in your motherhood journey did you first realize that it was costing you more than you expected to pay?